Welcome to Universal Man, where we turn your flight into fight so that you can master yourself and conquer your goals. My name is Mark Weppett, and I'm here to help you sharpen your masculine edge so that you can live on the front lines of life and be a man that you admire. And today, we've got another episode of the Porn-Free FAQs, where I answer common questions around quitting porn and developing sexual self-mastery. And today, the question I'm going to be looking at is, how do I know when I am fully recovered from porn addiction? How do I know when I am fully rebooted? When is my reboot done? And this is kind of a complex question because there's a bunch of different things to look at, and everyone defines reboot and recovery differently. So I just kind of want to break down a few different angles on this. There's kind of a few different lenses that you can look at this question through. The first lens is healing from sexual dysfunction. Okay, so if you're going to look at, am I recovered from the lens of healing from sexual dysfunction? Well, then this is probably, one of the easier ways to judge it. It's like, all right, is your sexual dysfunction gone? Well, then, hey, you've done it, right? So, if you've suffering from erectile dysfunction, or you're suffering from delayed ejaculation, or you have extreme fetish, or, you have a lack of attraction to real women, whatever. I mean, in a lot of ways, you could say you've recovered when the symptom goes away. Now, this can be a different time period for different people. It depends on how severe the situation is. So for some people, the issue goes away in, a couple of weeks or just a month or two. That I see that with the erectile dysfunction guys for sure. For some, though, that recovery process can take a year or more. Usually, if you're hooked on an extreme fetish, that's going to take, quite a few months before that attraction to that fetish starts to fade. There is a little bit of a downside to using this lens to judge your recovery, because just because the sexual dysfunction has been healed, it doesn't mean that you're no longer addicted, right? And so it's like maybe your erectile dysfunction goes away after a month and a half or something like that. But that's not a full reboot. That's only halfway through a normal 90-day reboot. So if you go back, you think you're done, and you just relax all the things, you go back to masturbating or whatever, very likely you're going to end up back at porn. No! And then very likely that the ED is going to come back. No! So you have to be careful. I think you need to really prioritize a true reboot over just the healing of sexual dysfunction to say whether you're done or not. All right, so let's move on and look at a different lens for evaluating how far you are along in your recovery process, okay? And I think this lens is a little bit better than the previous one. Still got some problems, but let's look at it, all right? So this is when you evaluate your level of attraction to porn. Okay? And I would say there are three primary levels of attraction to porn, and the more recovered you are, the further along you go here. So the kind of baseline, lowest level state is that you're super hyper attracted to it. The thought of porn just, jolts you. You want it, right? You see it, you love it, and you're really intrigued by it. Okay? So that's the lowest level. In the middle is where you're kind of indifferent. You're like, yeah, okay, I get that porn's exciting, it's, stimulating, it's sexy, it could be fun, but also it just sucks in so many ways. It just makes my life so much worse. And, I could probably do without it. It's kind of like you're in the middle there. And then at the far end, you're actually repulsed by porn.
You disgust me.
And you can, believe it or not, you can actually get to this point, because if you do a lot of the internal work and you really internalize the truth about porn, about what it does to you, the truth about the industry, and your own values around sexuality and that sort of thing, when you're seeing porn and you've done all that kind of work and really internalized it, you're not just seeing the hot body or the exciting sex act, you're seeing all that other crap too at the exact same time. And so it's just like, it's just, yeah, maybe one piece of it's attractive, but it's just like sitting in a pile of shit, and it's just like, ew. So you can actually get to that point too. So this is, I think, a better way to look at your recovery. And when you start feeling more of that, indifference to outright aversion to it, this is signs of your progress. It really is. But challenge with this kind of perspective is that it's not very definite. This is very much a spectrum, and it's something that is gradual, and sometimes you can kind of even bounce around on this spectrum. So it's difficult to use this as a totally accurate gauge for saying how far along in the recovery process you are. So now let's look at the third lens, which I think is the best lens for judging how far along you are in your reboot, okay? And this focuses on your level of control. It focuses on your level of self-mastery. And just like the previous one, there's 3 layers to this that I see, okay? And the first layer is the ability to consistently override any urge toward porn that you get. Okay, and that means that no matter how strong a porn craving is inside of yourself, you can say no to it and act in opposition to it. It may feel like it's killing you to do that, but you can override it, and you develop that kind of discipline and willpower and whatever. And at a very minimum, you need to reach this state if you want to reach 90 days. And this is the first state anyone's got to get to. You have to start with being able to override. And this is a power that once you have it, you know, it's really empowering, because you realize, all right, even if the porn craving is super strong, it doesn't control me. And you learn how to deal with this with self-talk and habit replacement and, you know, all the kinds of stuff that I talk about ad nauseum, you know, on this channel. So that's the first layer. The second layer would be to be able to actually release urges. So this level of control is that, all right, the previous level of control is like, all right, I can override an urge. Next level is that, all right, I notice I have an urge. Here are the things that I can do to actually make that urge go away. You learn how to process it, essentially. And this it requires a certain level of internal coordination and self-awareness and ability to engage in self-talk. Basically, what you learn how to do is you learn how to turn off your internal alarm bells. So your inner alarm bells are saying, I'm not okay, I need porn, it's so good, blah, we're not okay if we don't have it. That's what a trigger kind of is, emotion. If we translate that feeling into words, at this level, you can turn that off. You can say, no, I am okay. I'm actually not just fine without this, I'm actually better off without it. And you learn how to connect to your own calming source, your own sense of worth, your own sense of, yeah, I'm okay without porn. And even in discomfort, you recognize, yeah, I'm fine. And you can relax into that, right? And so that would be the second layer, and you can reach this place as well. What's the final layer? What's the ultimate state of recovery? Well, in my opinion, the ultimate state is when you have the control that you can take a porn urge and you can transmute it. You can actually take something that is normally seen as a bad thing and be like, "Oh, look at this." It's like if you look at porn as a bully, or this addiction as a bully that usually comes along and says, "Hey, chump, give me your, lunch money, or else I'm gonna beat you up. Either go watch porn right now, or I'm gonna make you feel all this pain." That's how the addiction bully tends to work inside of us. But at this level of control I'm talking about, the bully comes up to you and you're like, "Oh, nice. How you doing, bully? I would like my money now." And you rob the bully, pretty much. So that's the highest level of control, and this is the level of transmutation. And so at this level, you need to have a lot of self-mastery. You got to have a really strong mindset. You got to know how to work all your internal energies, and pretty much it's like you enter into this higher metagame mindset, which I'm going to be talking about more on this channel, but you can also learn about it in my Reforged Man course, where I talk about transmutation and whatnot. But it's pretty much like you can either turn that, if it's raw sexual energy, you can turn it into lover energy, you can turn it into warrior energy. If it's some kind of deeper emotional issue that's the trigger, well, then you turn that into a source of power that drives you toward taking good action or whatever. And when you can do this kind of stuff consistently, you don't need to be afraid of any kind of urges. They just become energy. They just become raw energy that you can reshape and repurpose toward your ends. So, these are, from what I can tell, the best ways to judge your recovery process. And honestly, the place you got to get to first is that place, that first layer where you can override any urge, despite, how intense it is. And then you're going to learn how to turn off the urges, and then you can learn how to transmute the urges, as long as you got the tools in your tool belt. So that's the way that I would approach this question. That's, kind of a long-winded answer to know how do I know when I'm fully recovered. But I don't know. I figure if you're at this channel, you're looking for the nuance. So that's what I have for you guys today. Stay sharp. I'll see you in the next one. Most guys struggle to quit porn because they aren't building the right habits to replace porn. If you want to learn the simple habit replacement system I've used to help thousands of men quit porn and develop self-mastery, then click the link in the description below and download my free Reboot Regimen guide. Hey, if you found this episode useful and you want to hear more, make sure you like, subscribe, and if you're tuning in on YouTube, make sure you hit that bell button to turn on notifications. But if you really like this content and you would like to join the tribe of Universal Men, then you need to head on over to the Universal Man Patreon page by clicking the link in the description. We call ourselves the Vanguard because we are committed to living on the front lines of life. By joining, you'll gain access to exclusive content, weekly accountability, community chat rooms, and live calls. Also, by joining the Vanguard, you become a part of my inner circle. Therefore, you get my prioritized attention. Most importantly, though, you'll be joining a crew of like-minded guys that can help support and inspire you on your journey of masculine self-mastery. So click the link below and sign up today.